My name is Lena Hartley, and I'm 29 years old. If you skimmed my life from the outside, you'd probably scroll right past it. Software engineer, one-bedroom apartment with decent light and a mortgage that doesn't eat me alive. A savings account that actually has numbers in it, not just vibes. A 2-year relationship with a good guy, Ethan Cole, 27. The kind of boyfriend mothers sigh over and say, he's a keeper. We were talking about moving in together, maybe adopting a dog, upgrading his beat-up car so it didn't sound like an airplane on takeoff every time he merged onto the highway. Normal, steady, adult stuff. Nothing in that quiet, competent feed would show you the exact moment my life snapped in half over a cardboard pizza box. It was a Wednesday. Middle of the week, middle of the month, middle of everything. My living room smelled like pepperoni and garlic knots, the TV muttering some forgettable sitcom in the background. One lamp glowed in the corner. It was the kind of night where you're supposed to feel safe without even noticing you feel safe. Ethan sat at the other end of my gray couch, one leg folded under him, the other foot tapping absently against the rug we'd picked together, which mostly meant I paid for it, and he said, "Yeah, that looks nice, babe." His phone lit up every few seconds. His thumbs moved in bursts, fast, stop, delete, type again, like he was editing himself in real time. I reached for another slice of pizza, appetite already fading. "You know," I said, "for someone who claims he hates drama, you text like a teenage girl in a group chat." He snorted but didn't look up. "It's work." "Work that sends you laughing emojis and heart eyes?" He flicked his gaze at me, then back to the screen. "Mimi from the dev chat. Relax, detective." I smiled, but my stomach pinched. I am not naturally jealous. I am naturally thorough. I like knowing where things stand. My dishwasher flips to off-peak at 12:01 a.m. because months ago, I told it to. My budget is color-coded. I set calendar reminders for oil changes and dentist appointments. I don't snoop, I observe. And lately, what I'd been observing was that Ethan's phone seemed to have more gravity than usual. "It's probably Chloe anyway," I said lightly, folding the greasy cardboard box closed. "She'd text you from an operating table if she could." He huffed a laugh. "You're not wrong." Chloe Warren, 28, had been Ethan's self-appointed guardian since college. She'd been through more relationships than I'd had bad dates, always in the eye of some new storm. If she wasn't talking about a fight with her latest boyfriend, she was talking about a fight with her landlord, or her boss, or her barista. Then there was Jenna Price, 26, engaged to Mark Ellis for something like 5 years. Every time they set a wedding date, something came up. Money, venue, vibes. I'd stopped trying to keep track. And Lauren Kim, 29, recently divorced and apparently determined to make sure nobody she knew ever trusted a partner again. She could take any story, "He forgot to text me goodnight," and spin it into a cautionary tale about emotional abuse. The three of them were a package deal. Brunch every Sunday, group chat buzzing 24/7, girls' trips every few months. When Ethan and I first started dating, I thought it was fine, healthy even. I had my own friends, my own life. I wasn't trying to be his entire world. But about 6 months ago, something shifted. It started with little comments Ethan would relay, laughing like they were no big deal. "Chloe says it must be nice that you let me stay out late with the guys. Jenna joked that you're training me to be a house husband with all that meal prepping. Lauren said if a guy's too perfect, he's hiding something." Always delivered with a grin. Always filed away in the back of my mind like, noted. On the couch that Wednesday, his phone buzzed again. He finally set it face down on his knee and grabbed a slice. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah." He took a bite, chewed like it was a chore. "Just work stuff. Deadlines. You know." I did know. I also knew when someone was lying by omission. But I swallowed the questions with my lukewarm soda. You can't build trust by cross-examining your boyfriend every time his phone lights up. I should have asked anyway. A few days later, he came over after brunch with the girls. It was a Sunday, the sky low and gray, my apartment smelling like coffee and fresh laundry. He sat at the edge of the couch this time, hands clasped, phone nowhere in sight. My chest tightened. That posture never meant anything good. "What's wrong?" I asked. He took a breath like he was about to dive underwater. "We need to talk." There it was, the phrase every woman recognizes, even if you've never heard it before in your life. "Okay," I said, forcing my voice steady. "About what?" He looked at me like he was trying to read a language he only half remembered. "Are you seeing someone else?" For a second, I genuinely thought he was joking. A laugh punched out of me. What? His jaw tensed. The girls noticed some things. You're on your phone a lot. You've been working late. Sometimes you come over smelling like a different perfume. They said, Ethan. I held up a hand, blood roaring in my ears. Pause. My phone is glued to my hand because my boss thinks urgent means at 10 p.m. Working late because we're about to ship a release. And the perfume, that's not a man. That's Clara from QA's hand cream because my skin is a desert and the office air is a crime. He frowned. You don't have to get defensive. Innocent people get defensive when they're accused of cheating, I snapped. Who exactly do they think I'm sleeping with? The Jenkins server? He flinched, looked away. They're just worried about me. They don't want to see me get hurt. And I do? My voice climbed against my will. I'm the one who has been here, Ethan. I'm the one who knows your coffee order and your stupid sock rotation and how you forget to eat when you're stressed. They see you what? Twice a week over mimosas and suddenly they're experts on our relationship? He rubbed his face. Can we just drop it? I asked, you answered, fine. But it wasn't fine. I could feel it, a hairline crack running through something I'd thought was solid. You don't ask a question like that if you trust the person you're with. We dropped it for 3 days. Then came Tuesday. I got home a little after 7, shoulders aching from hunching over my laptop. The apartment was dark except for the kitchen light. Ethan was on the couch, elbows on his knees, hands clasped so tight his knuckles were white. The air felt wrong the second I walked in. Hey, I said slowly, setting my bag down. You're early. He looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed, like he'd either been crying or not sleeping. Maybe both. Just tell me the truth, he said. My skin prickled. About what? He swallowed hard. Chloe saw you, at the Italian place downtown, with some guy. You were holding his hand. For a moment, my brain refused to compute the words. Italian place. Guy. Hand. Then it snapped into focus. The candles, the red checkered tablecloths, the flight board on my brother's phone. You mean last Friday? I asked carefully. At Romano's? He nodded, jaw tight. She was there with her cousin. She saw you. I let out a disbelieving laugh, the sound bouncing off the walls too loud. That was Ryan, my brother. I literally texted you from the restaurant. I dug my phone out of my bag, fingers suddenly clumsy, scrolling through our messages. Here. Dinner with Ryan before his flight. See? And you sent back? I tapped the thread, turned the screen toward him. A heart, remember? He stared at the messages like he'd never seen them before. A muscle jumped in his cheek. Chloe said you were holding hands, he repeated. That's not normal. We were looking at engagement rings on his phone, I snapped. For his girlfriend. He wanted my opinion. We leaned over the screen at the same time. That's what she saw, Ethan. A screenshot, not a scandal. He shook his head like he could dislodge the doubt. The girls think you're really good at this, at making everything sound reasonable. They said that's what cheaters do. They always have an answer. Heat rushed up my neck, behind my eyes. And hear me out. Maybe I have answers, because there are answers, because there's nothing to hide. They care about me, he said quietly. They're just trying to look out for me. I am not hurting you, I said, voice shaking. They are. They are feeding you paranoia, and you are eating it like it's the truth. We went in circles for an hour. Every time I pointed to evidence, he pointed to feelings. Every time I raised my voice, he called it defensiveness. Every time I tried to stay calm, he said I sounded rehearsed. Finally, exhausted, we fell into a brittle silence. He slept on the couch. I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding hard enough to rattle my ribs. At 1:13 a.m., I opened my notes app and started typing. Dates, times, exact phrases. Screenshots saved in a folder named with the most boring label I could think of, utilities. It was a reflex by then, not because I planned to use it, but because documenting made me feel less crazy. In the morning, my alarm dragged me out of a shallow, broken sleep. Ethan's side of the bed was still empty. I checked my phone. One new message. I need space. Staying at Chloe's for a few days. My vision blurred. I blinked hard, reread it, as if the words might change into something else. Space. I'd watched enough relationships die to know what that word usually meant. It wasn't space. It was a soft launch for goodbye. I called, straight to voicemail. I texted, can we at least talk? A minute later, 3 dots appeared. Then, I just need time with the girls. Please don't make this harder. With the girls. Not with his family. Not alone to think. with the three women who had decided I was guilty without ever looking me in the eye. I stared at the screen until it went dark. For 2 days, nothing. No calls, no texts. I went to work, pushed code I barely remembered writing, smiled mechanically in meetings. At night, I sat on the couch where he'd accused me and stared at the dent his body had left in the cushion. On the third night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Hello? Lena. Ethan's voice tight. It's me. My heart lurched. Ethan, are you okay? Can we please just... I can't do this, he said, talking over me. His voice was flat, practiced. I can't be with someone I don't trust. The world tilted. Ethan, I showed you proof. I haven't done anything. This is Chloe's story, not reality. That's what cheaters say, he replied. The girls help me see the patterns. I deserve better than constantly wondering if you're lying to me. Patterns? I repeated, stunned. The only pattern here is them whispering in your ear until you can't hear me anymore. There was a pause. For a second, I thought he might crack, might remember who I actually was. Instead, he exhaled. I'm blocking your number. Please don't contact me again. The line went dead. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the empty hum. The TV muttered in the background. The lamp in the corner glowed, indifferent. On the coffee table, the cardboard pizza box from earlier in the week still sat, half full, grease-stiff, and congealed. 2 years of my life had just been dismantled by 3 women who weren't even in the room. And the worst part wasn't losing Ethan. It was realizing that when it really counted, he believed their story about me more than he believed me. The thing nobody tells you about heartbreak is how loud the smallest sounds become. The morning after Ethan hung up on me, my alarm went off like a siren. The coffee maker sputtered and hissed like it was angry on my behalf. My own heartbeat sounded like it was happening outside my chest, echoing in the tiny kitchen. I went through the motions anyway. Shower, bun, concealer thick enough to pass for sleep, black jeans, soft sweater, the flats that don't rub my heels raw. I stared at myself in the mirror, eyes puffy, lips pressed thin. You're fine, I whispered to my reflection. You've written unit tests more complicated than this. You can survive one breakup. My reflection didn't look convinced. At work, my code editor swam. Lines of JavaScript blurred into each other, semicolons floating like punctuation-shaped ghosts. People asked how I was, and I said, Good, busy, you? Because that's what you say when your life is collapsing, but you still have sprint points to close. At lunch, I sat at my desk and shoved forkfuls of salad into my mouth without tasting it. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart leapt, then crashed when it was just a Slack notification or a shipping update for the moisturizer I'd ordered at 2 a.m. By the time I got home, my brain felt like wet cardboard. I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and sank onto the couch, the same spot where Ethan had accused me of cheating. The dent where he usually sat looked deeper, somehow, like even the furniture missed him. My phone lit up on the coffee table. Maya. I answered on the second ring. Hey, I'm outside, she said. Don't bother putting on a bra. I brought wine. A laugh burst out of me, startled and grateful. You're a saint. She came in with a bottle of red under one arm and a bag of chips under the other, black hair in a messy bun, leggings, and an oversized hoodie that said, Don't talk to me, I'm coding. She took one look at my face and her expression softened. Okay, sad feral raccoon, she said, dropping everything on the coffee table. Come here. I let her pull me into a hug. For a moment, I could breathe. We sat cross-legged on the floor, backs against the couch, glasses of wine balancing on coasters I normally would have nagged her to use. Tonight, I didn't care if she spilled an entire bottle on the rug. So, she said gently, tell me everything. From the beginning. No skipping the ugly parts. I told her about the jokes Chloe and the others made, how they'd been background noise at first, how Ethan's phone had become a second heartbeat in the room, the accusations, the restaurant, the proof, the way he'd looked at me like a stranger when I showed him the texts. By the time I got to the part where he said I deserved better and blocked my number, Maya's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. I swear to God, she muttered, if I ever see Chloe in person, I'm throwing my coffee at her, and I don't even care if it's a $5 oat milk latte. A broken laugh escaped me. Don't waste good oat milk on her. I'll bring the cheap stuff, she said. Then her eyes softened. Lena, this isn't on you. You know that, right? I know it logically, I said. Emotionally, my brain is still in there rearranging furniture to see if I could have done something different. She nudged my knee with hers. You could have been the Dalai Lama with a PhD in emotional labor, and those 3 hyenas still would have found a way to twist it. Ethan didn't just slip. He dove headfirst into the pool they filled for him. I swallowed hard. We were talking about moving in together. He had a folder of apartments bookmarked. We argued about gas stoves versus electric. Gas stoves are superior, she said automatically. I know. My throat tightened. I don't understand how you go from arguing about appliances to believing your girlfriend is cheating because Chloe blinked in your direction. Because some people would rather believe drama than evidence, she said. Evidence is boring. Drama gives them something to talk about at brunch. We finished the bottle. She made me eat half the chips. When she left, she hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. If you text him, she said at the door, I will not judge you, but I will come over and change all your passwords so you can't cyberstalk him afterward. I'm not texting him, I said. I meant it. For the rest of the night. The next morning, my phone rang while I was standing in my kitchen staring at the coffee maker like it had personally wronged me. Unknown number. My stomach flipped. Ethan? He'd said he was blocking me, but maybe... Hello? My voice came out thinner than I wanted. Hi, is this Lena? A man said. Not Ethan. Definitely not. This is Lena, I said slowly. Who's this? It's Mark. Mark Ellis? We met at Chloe's 4th of July barbecue last year. I was the guy trying to grill zucchini and failing spectacularly. It took me a second to place him. Tall, sandy hair, kind eyes. Jenna's fiancé. The one who had laughed when she made a joke about starter husbands, and then stared into his drink like he wanted to climb inside it. Right, yeah, I said. Hi, everything okay? He blew out a breath. Honestly, not really. I need to tell you something about Ethan and Chloe and the others. My heart slammed against my ribs. I sank onto a bar stool. What happened? Jenna came home wasted from Chloe's last night, he said. She was on the phone with Lauren, loud enough to hear from the hallway. They were talking about you and Ethan and some kind of test. The word made my skin crawl. What do you mean, test? They were laughing, he said, voice tight. Jenna kept saying, I can't believe he actually believed us. And Chloe was on speaker, bragging about how they'd been planning it for months, how they made up the cheating thing to see if Ethan would choose you or them. My grip tightened on the edge of the counter. They what? I didn't catch the beginning, he said, but I heard enough. Chloe said she never actually saw you with anyone at that restaurant. She just saw Ethan's Instagram story with your brother and took a gamble you wouldn't correct him. Jenna was talking about how they've been making comments for months, trying to prime him. Lauren was laughing about how fast Ethan turned on you. His voice shook with disgust. It was like sport to them. For a moment, all I could hear was rushing in my ears. The room tilted, then snapped back. Mark, I said carefully, are you sure you didn't mishear? I recorded some of it, he said. I know that's messed up, but I was so shocked I just hit record. I thought, he stopped, swallowed. I thought you should have it. You deserve to know. Can you send it to me? I whispered. Yeah, I'll text it over now. A pause. Lena, I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner. For not saying anything. I'm honestly questioning my entire engagement right now. If Jenna can do this to her best friend's relationship for fun. His voice trailed off. I didn't know what to say. Thank you, I managed, for calling. Check your texts, he said. And if you ever need a witness or something, I'm here. The line went dead. A second later, my phone buzzed with a new message. From Mark Ellis, an audio file. My hands shook as I tapped play. Static, then voices. Jenna's, high and breathy. Chloe's, low and amused. Lauren's dry drawl. And he actually believed us, Jenna was saying, words slurred but clear. Like, no questions. We didn't even have to try that hard. Chloe laughed. I told you. You just have to plant seeds. All those little comments about her being off lately. By the time we dropped the restaurant story, he was primed. Lauren chimed in. Best part is now he's free. No more sorry, guys. Lena wants to stay in tonight. He's got more time for us. Win-win, Jenna giggled. He thinks he dodged a bullet, and Lena can go cry into her color-coded spreadsheets or whatever. They all laughed. It went on for 3 full minutes, them dissecting my life like it was an episode of some reality show, joking about Ethan's confused face, mocking the way I apparently over-explained everything, like that was proof I was lying. When the audio ended, I realized I'd been holding my breath. I set the phone down carefully, like it was something that could explode. Then I hit play again. I listened to it 5 times. Each time, something in me hardened. The pain didn't go away. It just crystallized. It turned cold and sharp, like glass. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't they meant well, but went too far. This was deliberate. My phone buzzed again, a text from Maya. You alive? I stared at the screen, then hit call instead of typing. She answered on the first ring. You better not be doom scrolling his Instagram. They made it up, I said. My voice sounded weird, distant. Chloe and Jenna and Lauren. They admitted it. Mark recorded them. Maya went very, very quiet. Send it, she said. I did. While it played, I pressed the phone to my ear and stared at the dent in the couch cushion where Ethan used to sit. I could almost see him there, laughing at something Chloe had said in the group chat, believing every word that came out of her mouth over mine. Those witches, Maya hissed when the audio ended. Those actual, real-life witches. I hope their brunch pancakes always come out soggy. I have to show him, I said. Why? She demanded. So he can cry and say he's sorry, and then what? You take him back and pretend he didn't throw you under the bus the first chance he got? He deserves to know, I said quietly. If I don't show him, they still win. They get to keep the story. She exhaled, frustrated but understanding. Okay, fine. But you are not texting him from your number. He blocked you like a coward. He can deal with the inconvenience. I grabbed my laptop, pulled up my notes, timestamps, quotes, everything I'd documented. Looking at the list now, it was almost eerie, like I'd been building a case against them without meaning to. Can I use your phone? I asked. Already unlocked, she said. Go for it. I opened a new text thread, typed his number in by muscle memory. It's Lena. I have something you need to hear about Chloe, Jenna, and Lauren. Meet me at the coffee shop by your office tomorrow at 9 a.m., or I'll send it to your work email. Maya read over my shoulder. Savage. I approve. We stared at the screen. For a full minute, nothing happened. Then 3 dots appeared. How did you get this number? I rolled my eyes. Of course that was his first question. Does it matter? 9 a.m. Coffee shop across from your building. 15 minutes. After that, I'm done. The typing bubble came and went twice. Finally. Fine. 9. Make it quick. I dropped the phone onto the couch and leaned back, suddenly exhausted. You sure about this? Maya asked softly. No, I admitted, but I'm going anyway. The next morning, I got to the coffee shop at 8:30. I ordered a latte I barely tasted and took the table in the back corner, the one with a view of the door and the street outside. My leg bounced under the table like it had its own agenda. Every time the bell over the door jingled, my heart jumped. Office workers streamed in, suits and lanyards and carefully packed lunches. No Ethan. At 8:58, I checked my phone for the 10th time. No new messages. At 9:03, the bell rang again. He walked in wearing a navy button-down I'd bought him last Christmas. His hair was a little messier than usual, eyes shadowed like he hadn't slept well in days. He scanned the room, spotted me, and for a second, something like guilt flickered across his face. Then his expression shuddered. He walked over and sat down across from me, posture stiff, hands folded on the table. Okay, he said quietly, not meeting my eyes. What is this about? I picked up my phone, opened Mark's audio file, and placed it face up between us. Press play, I said. He stared at the phone like it was a bomb. For a second, I thought he wouldn't do it, that he'd push the phone back to me, make some comment about how this was pointless, that the girls already explained everything. But his hand moved. Slow, hesitant. He tapped play. The coffee shop noise faded around us. Steam wand hissing, chairs scraping, spoons clinking. None of it reached us. The audio crackled to life, and Chloe's voice spilled into the space between us. And he actually believed us, like immediately, no questions. Jenna's drunken laughter followed, bright and sharp. We didn't even have to try that hard. Lauren chimed in, tone dripping with smug amusement. Best part is now he's free. No more Lena dragging him back early. He's got more time for us. Win-win. Then Chloe again, low and triumphant. I told you he'd choose us over her. Loyalty test passed. Ethan froze. Not figuratively. Literally. He went still, breath caught in his chest, eyes focused on the table but not really seeing it. His hands slowly curled into fists, knuckles blanching. The longer the recording went on, the more his face drained of color, as if the truth was pulling the blood straight out of him. I watched every micro-expression. Confusion, disbelief, recognition, horror, shame, something darker. The audio ended. The silence afterward was louder than the recording. Ethan stared at the phone like it had personally betrayed him. He swallowed once, twice. His voice, when it came, was barely audible. That isn't real. The laugh that came out of me wasn't pretty. It was broken glass and fire. "It's them, Ethan. Their voices, their words." It could be edited, he said, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Or taken out of context. People say things they don't mean when they're drunk." "Context?" I repeated, stunned. "What context makes plotting to destroy your relationship okay?" He rubbed his forehead hard, like he was trying to push the truth back out of his skull. "They wouldn't do that. Not Chloe. They're my friends." "Exactly," I said. "So why would they lie? Why would they twist everything? Why would they deliberately sabotage your relationship? What does it say about them that they did?" He didn't answer, because there wasn't an answer that made him look good. My voice softened, but not kindly. "When I showed you proof that I was with my brother, you didn't believe me. When I explained every detail, you didn't believe me. When I begged you to call him, you refused. But they showed you nothing. No texts, no photos, just vibes and gossip. And you believed them instantly." Ethan flinched like I'd slapped him. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Start with the truth." He looked up at me then, for the first time since he walked in. His eyes were raw, wide, hunted. "I messed up, I know that. He swallowed. "I didn't want to get hurt again. My ex." "Your trauma is not an excuse to accuse me of cheating," I said, voice steady, "or to believe 3 women who hate me over the person you claim to love." He closed his eyes. A full, painful silence stretched between us. Finally, he said, Can we fix this?" The question landed like a stone in my chest. 2 days ago, I might have said yes without thinking. Begged for a second chance. Tried to rewind everything. But now? Now I heard their laughter every time I closed my eyes. Now I knew how quickly he'd abandoned us the moment someone whispered a lie into his ear. "I don't know," I said. And it wasn't a game. It wasn't punishment. It was the truth. "You didn't trust me when it mattered. You threw me away over gossip." He winced. "I thought I was protecting myself," he said quietly. "You weren't," I replied. "You were protecting your comfort, your bubble, your brunch crew. Not me, not us." He looked down at the table again, voice cracking. "I'm ending things with them. Chloe, Jenna, Lauren, all of them. After hearing this, I'm done." A sick pang, grief mixed with relief, hit me. But I didn't let it tilt me. "Good," I said, "but that doesn't fix what you did." His shoulders sagged. For the first time, he looked small. "Lena, I'm sorry." The words hung there, soft and useless. I gathered my phone, stood slowly, heart pounding. "Thank you for meeting me," I said. "Now you know." He stood too, panic flashing in his eyes. "Wait, Lena, don't go. Please, talk to me." "For what?" I asked. He opened his mouth, closed it. No answer came. Because there wasn't anything left to say. I stepped around him and walked toward the door. My legs felt like they were made of sand, but I kept moving. The bell jingled when I pushed it open. Cold morning air hit my face, shocking enough to pull the breath from my lungs. I stood there on the sidewalk, eyes stinging, heart hammering. Behind me, through the window, I saw Ethan sink back into his chair, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. I didn't go back inside. I didn't knock on the glass. I walked away. That afternoon, my phone rang while I was reheating leftover pasta. Unknown number. Again. I debated ignoring it. My emotional inbox was full. But something told me to answer. "Hello? Is this Lena?" a woman said, sharp and clipped. "Yes? This is Diane Cole," she said. "Ethan's mother." I heard her voice once on speakerphone months ago. Warm, affectionate, the kind of mom who baked cookies and asked about your day. This version of her was not that. "Ethan told me what happened," she said. "I think you owe him an apology." The fork slipped from my hand and clattered onto the plate. "Excuse me?" "He said you blindsided him with some recording," she continued. "Twisting things, trying to make it look like his friends did something terrible. You need to stop manipulating him and talk this out like adults." I blinked, stunned. "His friends admitted to framing me for cheating." "They were concerned for him," Diane snapped. "You should be grateful he has people who care." I almost laughed. "Ma'am, with respect, if your husband's friends lied about you cheating with zero evidence, and he believed them over you, would you just talk it out?" Silence, the heavy, offended kind. "That's different," she finally said. "How?" I asked. Another silence. Then she exhaled sharply. "Ethan is devastated. He wants to fix things. You need to forgive him." "I don't owe him forgiveness," I said, calm again. "Not today, maybe not ever." "Young lady!" I hung up, blocked the number. My hands trembled afterward, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of choosing myself over someone else's comfort. I slumped onto the couch, tears finally slipping down my cheeks. Not because of Ethan, or Diane, or Chloe, but because this was the first time in weeks I wasn't twisting myself into knots trying to be believed. For the first time, I wasn't begging anyone to see me clearly. For the first time, I realized I could walk away and survive, maybe even be better for it. He didn't wait long to retaliate. Not Ethan. Them. Because the moment someone like Chloe loses control, she doesn't reflect. She doesn't apologize. She escalates. It started 2 days later, in the most predictable way possible, through work. I was halfway through debugging a cluster of asynchronous calls when my manager, Rachel, pinged me. "Can you step into my office?" 5 neutral words, but I've worked in tech long enough to know that neutral usually means brace yourself. My stomach tightened. I saved my file, locked my screen, and walked to her glass-walled office. She shut the door behind me, never a good sign, and motioned for me to sit. Rachel wasn't the warm and fuzzy type. She was sharp, efficient, always in blazers that made her look like she ran 3 departments instead of 1. I respected her because she respected work, not drama. But today she looked uncomfortable. "Lena," she began, folding her hands, "I need to ask you something." A cold ripple slid down my spine. "Okay." "We received an email over the weekend," she said carefully. "An HR complaint, anonymous, claiming you've been creating a hostile environment for an employee, that you've been harassing someone, retaliating, using your position to intimidate them." My blood turned to ice. Rachel watched my face closely. "That employee is Ethan." I nearly laughed, hysterically, loudly. Instead, I rubbed my forehead with both hands. "Oh my God." "I figured it wasn't true," Rachel said, "but HR makes me investigate, so I need to hear from you directly. Did anything happen between the two of you?" "We broke up," I said, voice clipped. "Last week. He accused me of cheating based on lies his friends made up. We argued. He ended things. That's it." "Have you contacted him since?" "Only once," I said, "to show him evidence that they lied. After that, nothing." Rachel nodded slowly. "Do you have proof of that?" "Yes, because of course I did." I pulled out my phone, opened the utilities folder, the one that stood in for my peace of mind, and showed her. The text from Ethan, the timestamp of him blocking me, the message I sent from Maya's phone to arrange the coffee shop meeting, the audio file from Mark, screenshots of my half-conversations with Ethan afterward. Rachel scrolled, expression flattening into something like disdain, but not for me. "For what it's worth," she said, "this email reads like someone trying to weaponize HR out of spite." I let out a shaky breath. "It's his friend group, Chloe, Jenna, and Lauren. They've been trying to wreck my life for months. I guess they're expanding their scope." Rachel's jaw tensed. "We're tracing the email. HR says it came from a device on a different floor, another company in this building, not our network." My eyebrows shot up. "Lauren works 2 floors up." Rachel's eyes sharpened. That explains the level of detail. She typed a note into her computer. "Don't worry, we're documenting everything. HR will formally flag the IP usage with building security. Since this is coming from outside the company, it's considered harassment of our staff, and we take that seriously." A weight lifted off my chest, not enough to breathe fully, but enough to feel the ground under me again. "Thank you," I said quietly. "No," Rachel said. "Thank you for documenting. Most people don't. You made my job much easier." She dismissed me with a reassuring squeeze to my shoulder. "Focus on work. We've got this." I walked out of her office with adrenaline buzzing under my skin, heart pounding in my ears. The moment I sat back at my desk, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. I debated ignoring it, but something in my gut said, "Pick up." "Hello?" A harsh breath. "You ruined everything." It was Jenna. Her voice wasn't sugary or fake casual like usual. It was tight, panicked, cracking at the edges. "What did I ruin?" I said flatly. "My engagement," she snapped. "Mark won't talk to me. He moved out. He said he's reevaluating." Reevaluating what? He heard one stupid, drunk conversation and now suddenly I'm a monster? You did this. I blinked. "You sabotaged your best friend's relationship for fun." "It was a test," she hissed. "People test partners all the time." "No," I said. "Manipulators test partners. Normal people communicate." She sucked in a sharp breath, offended. "This wouldn't have blown up if you'd just left Ethan alone. Why couldn't you just walk away quietly? Why did you have to involve Mark?" "I didn't," I said. "He involved himself. Because he realized the person he was going to marry enjoys tearing other people's lives apart." "You think you're so perfect?" Jenna spat. "You think Ethan wouldn't have cheated eventually? We were protecting him." I hung up, right in the middle of her sentence. Block the number. My hands were steady now. I sat at my desk and stared at my reflection in the dim screen. My eyes weren't soft or heartbroken anymore. They were clear. A few hours later, my phone rang again. Mark. I answered immediately. Hey, he said. His voice was calmer this time. Steady. Just wanted to warn you. Jenna's telling everyone you ruined her life. She's spiraling. Thanks, I said softly. Are you okay? A sigh. Honestly, better than I've felt in years. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he added, I'm sorry she dragged you through all this. It wasn't your fault. No, he said, but I was close enough to see the patterns, and I ignored them. I won't do that again. I felt something inside me unclench. By the time I got home, the sky was turning lavender, the city humming with evening traffic. I kicked off my shoes, dropped my bag, and sat on the couch. I was just about to turn on the TV when another text buzzed through. From Ethan. The breath left my lungs. Can we talk? After work tomorrow? I have something I need to show you, please. I stared at the screen for a long time. A month ago, I would have run to him. A week ago, I would have refused. Now I was just tired. But curiosity, dangerous, human, stubborn, tugged at me. I typed back, Where? He replied immediately. The park, 6 p.m. I'll be at the bench by the fountain. I set my phone down, leaned back, and closed my eyes. For the first time since everything exploded, I didn't feel powerless. I felt in control, tired, heart bruised, but in control. And tomorrow, whatever he had to show me, I would listen. Not because he deserved it, but because I wanted to write the ending of this story myself. Not let it be written for me again. I thought I was ready. I wasn't. Not for what Ethan showed me next. The park was dipped in gold when I got there, late sunset filtering through the trees, kids chasing each other near the playground, the old fountain bubbling calmly like it had nothing better to do. I spotted him immediately. Ethan stood by the bench, hands shoved into the pockets of his jacket, shoulders slightly hunched. Not defeated exactly, but deflated. Like someone let the air out of him and he didn't know how to refill it. I walked over slowly. He turned when he heard my footsteps, and for a moment neither of us said anything. Hi, he murmured. Hi. He gestured to the bench. Can we sit? We sat, not close, not touching. A full, polite gap between us, like neutral territory. He exhaled through his nose. I'm not sure how to start. Then just start, I said. He nodded, hesitated, then pulled out his phone. Okay, so after you showed me the recording, I confronted them. A cold ripple went through me. He opened his phone and pulled up screenshots. 100 of them. Months. Maybe a year. He handed it to me with shaking hands. They've been planning this for a long time, he said hoarsely. Longer than I realized, since we hit our 1-year mark. I scrolled and felt the world tilt. Group chat. Brunch queens. Chloe. Give it 3 months before he cheats. All men do. Jenna. For real. Lena's too calm. That's suspicious. Lauren. We should test her. See if she cracks. Chloe again. Ooh, yes. Start small. Comments. Questions. Plant doubts. Jenna. I'll start the perfume thing. Easy. Lauren. I can accidentally run into them at work. Wear something strong. Another thread later. Chloe. Tonight, I'm gonna say I saw her somewhere she wasn't. Bet he buys it. Jenna. Screenshot her story first so it sounds real. Lauren. She won't correct him. She hates conflict. This'll be fun. It kept going. Dozens of messages dissecting every detail of my life. My work hours, my texts, my tone, the photos I posted, the nights I didn't reply immediately, the days I looked tired at brunch. Everything was twisted into something suspicious. Every normal thing turned into a sign. They built a story brick by brick, pixel by pixel, until Ethan was primed to believe anything negative he heard. Exactly like they planned. My throat tightened. I handed the phone back carefully, like it might shatter in my hands. My voice shook. I didn't know it was this bad. I didn't either, he whispered. I looked up. His eyes were red again, but not from crying, more like he hadn't slept properly in days. He scrubbed a hand down his face. When you left the coffee shop the other day, I felt like someone dumped ice water over my entire life. I kept thinking, it can't be real, it can't be real. But then I checked our group chat history, and he swallowed hard. They really did this, on purpose, for fun. And I let them. I let them take pieces of my trust until I didn't have any left for you. My chest tightened painfully. He wasn't saying anything I didn't already know, but hearing him say it, without excuses, but I was scared, without deflection, hit harder than I expected. I didn't say anything. He wasn't finished. I confronted them, he said quietly. Yesterday. all three of them. What happened? He gave a humorless smile. Chloe tried to deny it at first. Said Mark misheard. Said the recording was edited. I showed her the screenshots. She switched to saying it was a joke. Of course she did. Jenna started crying. Said she didn't mean to hurt anybody. Lauren said you were controlling anyway, and she was saving me time. I almost laughed. A sharp, painful sound. Controlling? I know, he shook his head. I told them all to stay away from me, that we're done, permanently. I inhaled slowly. They won't respect that. I blocked them, he said, on everything. If they show up at my place, I'll call security. I nodded. Silence fell between us again, but this time it was heavy, thick. He looked at me, really looked, and the apology in his eyes was deeper than any words he'd said before. Lena, he whispered, I'm so sorry. Not because I got caught, not because things blew up, because I didn't trust you when it mattered. I didn't give you the chance to defend yourself. I listened to people who have never had my best interests at heart over the woman who always did. I failed you. My eyes burned. He continued, voice breaking. You gave me proof, real proof, and I still chose gossip over you. I don't know how to fix that. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I see it now, all of it. I blinked hard, forcing my voice steady. Thank you for showing me, for owning your part. And he hesitated. I know I don't have the right to ask for this, but is there any chance we could try again? Not now, not immediately, but someday? My heart squeezed. Because once I would have said yes without hesitation. Once his voice alone would have pulled me back. But now I was older, bruised, wiser, and still healing. I don't know, I said softly. Right now, I don't trust you either. You broke something in me. Something that doesn't fix itself just because the truth came out. He nodded, tears bright in his eyes. I understand. I do. I looked out at the fountain, bubbles catching sunset light. I'm not saying never, I added, but I am saying not now. His breath left him, a quiet exhale of relief and heartbreak tangled together. That's fair, he whispered. We sat there until the sun dipped fully, until the sky faded from gold to blue to deep indigo. We didn't hold hands. We didn't hug. We didn't promise anything. But when I stood to leave, I looked at him and said, thank you for finally showing up honestly. He nodded, voice too thick to speak. I walked away again. But this time it didn't feel like running. It felt like choosing my pace, choosing my path, choosing myself. The social media explosion started the next morning. Because of course it did. People like Chloe don't implode quietly. They do it publicly, loudly, performatively, with just enough vagueness to make themselves look like martyrs. I woke to 7 notifications in a row. Chloe had posted, PSA, if a man tries to isolate you from your friends, run. Loyalty tests exist for a reason. Protect your circle. The comments were unhinged. Women chiming in about trash men, others asking if she was okay, some tagging their friends. But then, people who knew the real story chimed in, and the tone of the thread shifted violently. Girl, didn't you lie about her cheating? Weren't you the one manipulating things? Protect your circle? You destroyed someone else's relationship. Loyalty test? What are you, 12? It devolved into a war zone. I didn't comment. I didn't like anything. I just watched the truth spread on its own. Then I saw a name I didn't expect in the comments. Ethan. He didn't post. He didn't argue. He just quietly liked a handful of comments calling Chloe out. It was a small gesture, but not insignificant. And then, after an hour of digital chaos, a new post appeared. Not from me. Not from Ethan. From Jenna. Friendly reminder that rumors hurt people. Don't spread things you can't prove. Someone replied instantly. Girl, you made the rumors. And the thread went nuclear again. Lauren stayed silent, probably the smartest thing she'd done all year. By noon, my phone buzzed with a message from Maya. Do you see this dumpster fire? I made popcorn. I sighed and put my phone face down, then picked it back up when another notification came through. A DM request from someone unexpected. Mark Ellis, just wanted you to know I'm done. Broke off the engagement. I'm sorry again for everything you went through, and thank you. If you ever need anything, I've got your back. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the message. This wasn't closure. Not yet. But it was something like clarity. They had tried to burn my life down. Instead, they burned their own. That evening, Ethan texted again, tentatively. Thank you for listening yesterday. And then, if you ever want to talk again, no pressure, I'm here. I stared at the message, not with longing, not with anger, with space. The kind of space that wasn't a death sentence. The kind of space where healing was actually possible. I typed back, "Maybe someday. I'm taking things slow. For me." He replied, "That's fair. I'll follow your pace." Then nothing else. No push. No guilt. No pressure. Just patience. And for the first time since everything shattered, I felt something warm. Not love, not reconciliation. Just the possibility of something healthier than what came before. A redo, not a rewind. Maybe, but not now. Now was for me. And that night, for the first time in weeks, I slept without waking up gasping. Because I realized healing didn't start when Ethan apologized. Healing started when I stopped begging to be believed. It took less than a month for the implosion. Not mine. Theirs. Because when people spend years feeding on drama, manipulating narratives, and treating relationships like chess pieces, there's only one possible ending. They eventually turn on each other, and I watched it unfold from a distance. Quiet, steady, unbothered, like someone finally closing the book on a story they no longer cared to read. It started with a text from my neighbor, Amanda. "There are 3 women in the lobby asking for you. Do you want me to call security? They look upset." I knew immediately who it was. Not coworkers, not family, not friends. The brunch queens. Chloe, Jenna, Lauren. My blood went cold for half a second, then sharpened into something calmer than anger, colder than fear. Resolve. Yes, call security. Tell them I'm not coming down. Amanda didn't ask follow-up questions. She was the kind of woman who could spot messy energy from a mile away and had zero tolerance for it. 20 minutes later, she texted again. Security escorted them out. They tried waiting in the parking lot. Building manager threatened trespassing charges. They left. I stared at the message, then exhaled slowly. Not relief. Something heavier. Finality. It was the last time any of them appeared at my door. But not the last time they tried something. That night, I got a text from a new number. I didn't recognize it. But the tone? Pure Chloe. "You're going to regret this. Karma is coming." Not clever. Not intimidating. Just petty. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to the police's non-emergency email I'd been given after the HR incident. An officer replied within the hour. Not a direct threat, but good to document. If they show up again, you can file for a restraining order. I added the email to my receipts folder and blocked the number. It was easier than breathing. Through mutual acquaintances, the updates trickled in over the next few weeks. Casual mentions, overheard gossip, heavy sighs from people who were tired of cleaning up emotional wreckage. I didn't ask for details, but people told me anyway, because people love watching a downfall. Lauren moved to another state, supposedly for a fresh start, but everyone knew it was to escape the social fallout after HR traced the anonymous complaint back to her office floor. Jenna lost half her social circle after Mark publicly broke off the engagement. And once the truth of what she did came out, people stopped inviting her to bridal showers and engagement parties. Nobody wants a saboteur near wedding plans. And Chloe? Chloe got poetic justice. She tried the same manipulation tactics on another friend's boyfriend. Cryptic warnings, fake sightings, intuition. Except this boyfriend had receipts, screenshots, shared locations, a literal time-stamped gym entry log. When her lie fell apart, she was the one who found herself blocked, ghosted, cut out. The people who once worshipped her chaotic energy finally saw the truth. Her chaos was never accidental. It was a weapon, and they walked away, one by one, until she had no brunch group left. No audience, no circle, just the consequences she'd spent years outrunning. During all the chaos, Ethan kept his distance, just like I asked. Weeks passed with nothing more than the occasional check-in text. "How's work? Hope you're sleeping better." You don't have to answer, just wanted to say I'm thinking of you. Never demanding, never pushing, just showing up, quietly, respectfully, in a way he never did before. And I didn't realize how much that mattered until the night I actually replied. It wasn't deep or emotional, just, "Today was okay, got a lot done. You?" He replied 2 minutes later. "Long day, but better hearing from you. No pressure, I promise. Just glad you're doing all right." And somehow that small, simple exchange felt bigger than any apology he'd made in the park. Because apologies are easy. Consistency is not. A week later, he asked if I wanted to get coffee. No expectations, no relationship talk. Just 2 people who once cared about each other, catching up. I stared at that message for a long time. I remembered the night he chose gossip over evidence. But I also remembered how he looked at me in the park, broken open, accountable, honest. And I remembered how I felt in that moment. Not angry anymore, just human. So I said yes. We met at a different coffee shop this time. Neutral ground. Windows tall as walls. Sunlight spilling in like warmth had nowhere else to go. He stood when I walked in. Not out of obligation. Out of respect. "You look good," he said. Not in a flirty way. Gentle. Observational. "Better." "I feel better," I admitted. And we talked. About work. About his new apartment. About how he started therapy. About how I was journaling more. About how we were both learning things the hard way. I waited for him to bring up getting back together. He didn't. Not once. And that told me more than any speech could have. We left with a promise to talk again sometime. Not as partners. Not as exes. Just people still learning how to exist in each other's orbit. Over the next 2 months, we met in low-risk ways. Coffee, lunch, a walk after work, a movie with a group. Always casual, always slow, always with boundaries. And it surprised me how much lighter it felt. No tightness in my chest. No fear of being blindsided again. Because this time we weren't trying to go back. We were trying to go forward. As different versions of ourselves. As people who'd been cracked open and reshaped by consequences neither of us could avoid. Eventually, gently, carefully, not like last time, he asked, "Do you think we could try again, slowly?" I made him wait for my answer. Not weeks. Not days. Just long enough for me to check in with myself. Really check. Did I feel safe? Did I feel respected? Did I feel like myself? The answer was yes, mostly, and cautiously. So I told him, I'm willing to try, but only if it's different, and only if we build it slowly. No skipping steps this time. He nodded, relief and something like gratitude softening his whole face. "I'll follow your pace," he said again. And I believed him this time. Not because he said it, but because he'd already been doing it. People always expect a fairy tale ending, or a dramatic one. Something explosive, something cinematic. But the truth? The real ending was quiet, soft, gradual. Healing usually is. As for the bigger lesson, this is what I learned the hard way. Real friends don't run loyalty tests. They don't need to manipulate the people you love to feel important. A real partner doesn't believe rumors without giving you a chance to speak. Trust shouldn't vanish the moment someone plants a seed of doubt. And most importantly, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop begging to be believed and let your truth speak for itself. Because the right people will hear it. And the wrong people, they'll expose themselves eventually. Just like they did. It's been 3 months since the firestorm burned itself out. Ethan and I are trying again. Slowly, intentionally, with conversations we avoided the first time. Some days I'm still angry. Some days he's still guilty. But both of us show up anyway. Because this time, we're not pretending everything's fine. We're building something new. Not perfect, not guaranteed, but honest. And after everything we survived, honest feels like a miracle.